How's everyone? We're here at Guam Police Department headquarters at Tizan, waiting a news conference by Police Chief. And we're told that they have an important announcement. We're assuming that it has to do with the victim, the killing that was discovered Saturday night in Totu. But we have not gotten any confirmation as to the specific details. That will be announced by the police department, Chief Steve Ignacio. So we're standing by. We should be starting shortly. So please stay tuned.
Now, yesterday we did go to the crime scene where we spoke with the mother of the two children who discovered the woman. According to her, the woman was found without any clothes on. However, she could not indicate whether there were any injuries present. However, she did say that the incident was, of course, extremely traumatizing to her two children who discovered the body while they were playing outside their home, which is about 100 feet from where the woman was found dead. Now, press conference is going to start very shortly. We are anticipating the chief of police to come out and make a statement in regards to this investigation. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked here to PNC News First. We will begin momentarily.
I usually wait for the door to open, but then that got me. I was another yesterday because all they were doing was getting longer, and I just didn't want. Well, tragedy in Totu, Hakodegwa Husi Nick Delgado with the Guam Daily Post. Now into day two for investigators looking into a death, the body of a woman believed to be in her 30s or 40s of Micronesian descent, found Saturday night along Ramirez Way in Totu. Now, police, of course, still doing what they can to investigate and find out who this woman is. We're back at the Chief of Police office in Tizan. Day two of this press conference as well, as we hope to get more information. Yesterday, we heard from the Chief of Police telling us that they are working with multiple agencies, including the Guam National Guard, DYA, Guam Homeland Security, and Guam Customs and Quarantine, to try and solve this case. There's a lot of evidence that is at stake here, because what we're hearing from some of the witnesses who came across this woman that was found along with Mary Street in Totu, she was found without any clothes. She had bruises on her face. Some even reported that she had blood in her genital area. So just a gruesome, horrific scene that investigators are canvassing. We saw almost a dozen of those police officers back on the scene this morning, going through the jumbled area. I did speak with one of the mothers who says that night, her, along with a neighbor, was sitting on that rock along that private road when one of the children shouted out, "Mom, there's a dead body." Other children's ages 4 and 7, stunned, just looking, couldn't say anything. They can't even go to school. We're told that those kids are just having a hard time dealing with what they encountered. The woman, again, unnamed, but we're hoping to get more information from police. Of course, keep it here at postguam.com. We bring you the latest in this news conference from Tizan. Who's there? Joseph? Stand up. All right, here you go.
All right, we do have some members of GPD's CID investigation unit now entering the conference room. Right now, they are making their way to the front. We do not know if CID will be talking today here at the press conference. We do know that CID officers are here in preparation of this conference. just tuning in, GPD has called for a press conference, and it appears that there's Sergeant Walter Powell,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Governor's spokeswoman,
The Chief of Police, Chief Stephen Ignacio, will now make some
Stephen Ignacio.
updates relative to the death investigation that occurred on Saturday, January 26th. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Stephen Ignacio, the Bureau Chief for Investigation Division, Major Fred Charglev, and Captain Scott Wade from the Investigations Bureau.
I'd also like to welcome our detectives from the Criminal Investigation Division. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. All right, so thank you everyone again to our media partners for being here today. So as reported, on Saturday, January 25th, the Guam Police Department entertained a death investigation relative to the discovery of a lifeless female located on Ramirez Street in Toto. The female was discovered in a state of undress, which led our investigators to believe that foul play may be a factor in this death. On Sunday, January 26th, the Guam Police Department, along with our partners in the public safety arena, held a press conference with our media partners in hopes of reaching out to the community and assisting in the investigation in identifying our female victim. The Guam Police Department, along with our public safety partners, continued the investigation, and through the course of the day, detectives were able to obtain surveillance footage from various business establishments depicting the victim with a male person of interest. Through the course of the investigation, detectives were able to identify the victim through a family member who had positively identified the victim as 37-year-old Luciana Polly, female of Micronesian descent. Witnesses were able to also identify the person of interest as a 25-year-old Katner Herry, also of Micronesian descent. Detectives were able to locate Mr. Herry at his home, where he was later interviewed. Based on the interview, Mr. Herry had disclosed that while at Ramirez Street, a physical altercation ensued between the victim and himself, which led to her death. Through consultation with the Office of the Attorney General and the Guam Police Department, Mr. Herry was later arrested for the offense of murder, family violence, aggravated assault, and reckless conduct. Mr. Herry was booked and confined at the Department of Corrections. Although an arrest has been made in this case, our detectives, along with our other public safety partners, continue to work in tying up other loose ends in this investigation. We are still awaiting the results of the autopsy, and should additional findings be made from the autopsy, additional charges will be made at that time, as we work closely with the Office of the Attorney General in addressing our findings through the autopsy. I'd like to thank the Governor of Guam and the Lieutenant Governor of Guam in availing the use of our public safety partners to assist us with this case, specifically the Guam Homeland Security, Office of Civil Defense, the Guam National Guard, the Department of Youth Affairs, the Guam Customs and Quarantine, the Guam Airport Police, the Port Authority Police, and also Guam's finest, the men and women of the Guam Police Department from our patrol, from our Forensic Science Division, and our detectives from the Criminal Investigation Division. Okay. And also the Department of Corrections. We also like to thank the community for coming forward and assisting us with this investigation, and also our media partners yesterday for getting the message out to the broader community. Okay.
Chief, what do you know about either the suspect or the victim in this case? What can you tell us?
So the suspect and the victim are known to each other, and they are acquaintances.
Does the suspect have any priors?
Yes, we believe that the suspect has prior arrests for other offenses. I believe they're alcohol-related, public intoxication, and reckless conduct and the like.
Can you comment on the manner of killing? How was she killed?
We cannot comment further. Again, we have to wait for the findings of the autopsy.
You received tips from the community, you mentioned?
What we received through our canvassing for witnesses, we were able to identify people who provided us information that provided us a lead to the victim and the person of interest.
The
Yes.
woman was
Investigators-
found in a state of undress. You also indicated that there was no identification or anything of the like when you initially found her at the scene.
Right.
Did the suspect provide any information as to why she was in a state of undress and where her belongings were taken?
No, that's part of the investigation that is still ongoing.
What were investigators doing back at the scene this morning, seeing as we had already?
Again, we're looking for additional evidence that may be related to the crime itself.
Where was she last seen on the surveillance cameras you mentioned?
We saw her along the Route 8 area.
Both of them?
Well, yes, we believe that both of them were seen on surveillance video on Route 8 area.
Was she killed at the location, or was her body dumped there?
We believe that the site of the discovery of the body leads us to believe that it's also the scene of the crime.
How much time passed between GPD seeing them on surveillance camera to when her body was found?
Again, we're still tying up the loose ends, so we're still trying to establish a proper time frame for the investigation.
Do you suspect anyone else was involved?
There's no information at this point. However, again, the investigation is still ongoing and still developing. Yes.
Were you able to get any other information about the victim, about Ms. Polly?
No, other than that, we believe that we've positively identified her through family members based on the characteristics and some of the, I believe, some of the scars and some marks and tattoos.
Is she a resident of the Toto area?
She doesn't necessarily have a permanent address, depending on which information we look at. She may have been a resident of Toto, and she also may have been at times homeless.
What area was Harry picked up?
He's a resident of the, I believe, the Barragata area.
Do you know how it was that they ended up at that location in Toto?
It is our understanding that they agreed to meet because they were together earlier in the day, and they had agreed to meet later.
Okay, so they were seen in surveillance video earlier that day walking along Route 8, and then apparently they agreed to meet up later that day on Ramirez Way, where
the incident occurred. Yes. Yeah.
So is it reasonable to conclude this was a domestic argument?
Well, there is a relationship between the two that was established, which goes to the charge of family violence.
Your message to the community with just this egregious crime occurring at the start of the year?
The safety of our community is first and foremost paramount, and we do care for the safety of our community. So we would like to thank the community. It was through our work with the members of the community that we're able to get leads that led us to the closure of this case at this point. And of course, as we talk about closure, we talk about the closure of the arrest, but there's still more work that needs to be done in this investigation.
Has the defendant admitted to assaulting the victim?
Other than the physical assault, again, the autopsy would help us determine if there are other types of assault that may have occurred.
Did the crime scene indicate that there was an attempt to conceal where the body was?
No, we can't answer that at this point. Yeah.
What did they drive there together, or did they walk?
Again, like I said yesterday, the area is not accessible by vehicular traffic, so it's only accessible through walking through pedestrian traffic. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And again, we'd like to close by thanking the community for their assistance and the rest of our public safety partners.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking time out to attend this press conference. Again,
latest from the
should any other information come forward, we
Was
will be able to
discovered in
provide it to you
on
guys.
Ramirez Street
Again,
has
this
now
case is
been
reported to the
identified.
office.
The suspect
Thank you.
accused in her death is also behind bars. Tune in tonight to
The latest now with the death investigation in Toto. Police have the suspect in custody. Again, he is prosecuted alcohol crimes in his history according to Chico Police's name again. He has been taken into custody, charged with murder, family violence, aggravated assault, and reckless conduct against the victim.
All right, off of day, everybody. Jason Salas here. I'm going to be joined by Ignacio just momentarily as the chief of police has now detailed what is known about the death investigation for that very, very heinous crime that went in the central village of Toto. A man has now been arrested and faces the charge of murder for the woman's. I believe she was 37 years old, and a man in his mid-20s has been now charged with murder. Let's go ahead and go outside where Nestor is waiting. Lots of questions, obviously, from the island's media corps. Nestor is actually poring over some of the details right now.
Okay, so there you hear it from Chief Steve Ignacio. They have made an arrest in connection with the killing in Toto on Saturday night. The victim has been identified as 37-year-old Luciana Polly. The arrested person is Katner Herry, 25-year-old. The police chief says they were able to locate the suspect through surveillance cameras and also for tips from the community. It's not known at this time the method of killing, although the suspect apparently has admitted to assaulting the victim. They are familiar with each other. The chief did not say whether or not they were considered a couple, but they did know each other. There also were positively identified, the victim rather was positively identified by her family members. He credits the joint corrections, law enforcement, and all of the justice departments for the swift arrest of this suspect. And once again, the victim is believed to be either a resident of possibly Toto or homeless, and the chief had said that they had agreed to meet up at that location in Toto. He would not comment as to whether or not there was an attempt to conceal the body at that location. We do know that, again, the name is Luciana Polly, 37-year-old, and the suspect is 25-year-old Katner Herry. He has been booked and confined. And we'll have more details on this, of course, tonight on KYM News.